Yeah. Moses had a staff, David had a stone. The disciples changed the world, and they started out unknown. You don't need perfection, you just need surrender. God can use a willing heart to change the world forever.
Hey, this is Aaron with Watch Missions Live. Today I have my lovely wife, Andrea, with me, and we are going to trace our journey from getting married, going straight into missions work, and tell some God stories along the way, and then some problems that we experienced along the way, and how those have led us to what we're doing with Watch Missions Live. So we can kind of give you the backstory by us just being able to kind of reminisce and talk through that, and you guys can hear the journey from her perspective as well. So I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, thanks.
We tried this another time,
We
and it
did?
didn't quite work.
No?
So her first podcast experience was the sound didn't work. We recorded for an hour,
Mm-hmm.
and then we had to start over. So this is round 2. She's super excited to be here.
I am.
So we'll start right at the beginning, not at the beginning of our married life anyway, and entering into missions. And I say that because in 2011,
Mhm.
we were both working as police officers in Wichita, Kansas. And we sold my house on land, got married.
I sold my house too. We both had houses.
Yep. Sold our houses, got married, quit the police department, and left the country as missionaries all in the month of May 2011. Yeah.
Yeah. You're telling it right so far.
Pretty much it. I've got her here to make sure I tell the story correctly. So right after we got married, where'd we go? That way
Oh.
we're both kind of sharing.
Yeah. First place was Kenya.
Kenya.
Yeah.
We were in Kenya 7 days after we got married.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've always been an all or nothing type of a guy, and that was, you were definitely along for that ride
I was.
from day one.
Yeah.
It was like all of a sudden, unemployed, homeless missionaries traveling the world.
Yeah.
So we did all that, got married, left the country. 7 days later, we were at an orphanage in
Mhm.
Kenya.
30 days.
Yep. We went with a group.
Mm-hmm.
We went with a
A
group.
group from our church.
They were staying for a couple weeks, but we felt like, or I think you felt like, God was saying to be there 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
And so we decided to stay for the 30 days. While we were there for the 30 days, this is kind of the lady who was running it. She'd been at it for a long time. She had a 10-acre farm.
Yeah.
They'd rescued like 120 some kids from the streets, which is great. And while we were there, she was trying to get somebody to take over for her.
Yeah.
Right. She was wanting to retire, essentially. And at the time, she didn't have anybody that was willing to take over. And so I remember while we were there, I remember asking myself, and we kind of talked about it a little bit, but that kind of struck the conversation for us was, what happens if she can't get somebody to take over?
Right.
Because it's like, this is the country where the government's not exactly trying to help people out.
Right.
And if she can't get anybody to take over, then it's like the kids
Then
just
what
go back to the
happens?
street. The government's going to take the land back. What? And on this land, like, what all did she have on that land?
She had a school, lots of school buildings. There was a church, boy dorms and girl dorms, and
She had the guest house,
the guest house.
The
Yes, the guest
kitchen.
house, kitchen, all that.
a few offices.
So the place was equipped to
Yeah.
self-sustain, kind of.
Well, they still had a full soccer field too,
Yeah.
and some land that they were like
Yeah.
growing a few things.
They were in the process of kind of expanding the agricultural part
Mhm.
of it, and growing vegetables, and you said they had cows, right?
Yeah, they had a couple.
Cows.
They had a couple cows, and they were farming a little bit.
Yeah.
And I remember we were there long enough that when we got there, when you first show up, there's the big sing and dance, and they welcome you in, and you're
Mhm.
missionaries. You bring in all the free stuff. And then we were there long enough that the group we had came with went back to the States.
Mhm.
And then it was a little bit of a break. And then another group came in.
Yeah.
And there was like the sing and the dance and welcoming in. The missionaries gave the free stuff, and then they went back home. And both times we kind of saw the locals just kind of sit back down and just wait for the next round of missionaries. Right? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they were really excited that people were coming to help, but then they just sit down and didn't really do anything in between other than focusing on their school and and trying, because in that country, the schooling was the way that they got out.
Yeah.
And so I remember asking myself, and this was, if you know me at all, I've spent the last 8 years building systems for businesses. And so streamlining businesses has kind of been my jam. And part of what we want to bring into Watch Missions Live is help missionaries streamline. This was way before that. I mean, this was 15 years ago almost now.
Mm-hmm.
And this was 7 days in, well, let's call it 2-3 weeks in, because we'd been there for a few weeks, of our missionary full-time missions career.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, what if she can't get somebody to take over?
Right.
Like, what happens to this place?
What if her plane goes down?
Yeah. And then
Forbid,
exactly, it's like,
but-
what if her plane goes down when she's going back and forth raising money? Because she would go back to the United States, raise money, come back, pay for everything, and then run everything. And so, yeah, it's like, we're all going to die. If you get to know me, I'm not afraid to talk about it. I mean, it's just, it's a fact of life, and I know where I'm going. So I just throw it out there coyly. She doesn't like that as much when I'm just so coy about it, but it's true. So I had thought, what if her plane goes down, right, at any given time? And that kind of made me think, because we're doing missions work.
Mm-hmm.
What if your plane goes down where you're going back and forth trying to raise money for what God's called you to do? Is there a way that they could farm and sell a portion of what they farm to create money for the orphanage, and then farm to eat another portion of the farm? I didn't know anything about systems or anything else, but this was just going through my head as, why couldn't this place create its own food and sell something, right, to create some money? So that's kind of where that idea developed. But then that kind of stuck on the back burner, because I remember I fought the next 6-7 years trying to figure out how I could make money while we travel the world doing what God tells us to do.
Let me roll you back, though, back to Kenya before you go to that.
Yeah.
What was going through your head when we went through the slums?
Well, I remember when we were there was like 12 of us, I think, 12 of us-ish Americans. And there was people living in trash igloos. So I remember people had basically made igloos out of sticks, layer it with trash, and then that's
mud.
Yeah, it was like a trash igloo, right? And then an upgrade was these mud houses.
Right.
And I distinctly remember anyway, I'm sure you remember things too, but I distinctly remember there was a guy laying in the mud outside of a mud place, and I was like, what's wrong with him? And like, well, he's dying. And I'm like, well, can we help him? What can we do? And they're like, well, no, the government doesn't want to help, and we don't have any money, so there's nothing we can do.
And I think they said something like the hospital wouldn't take him because he's dying. And
yeah, it's like, so basically this guy's life is just going to end laying in the mud outside of a trash igloo somewhere with no food, no clean water, and everything else. And I remember thinking, what if I was standing here as a rich missionary instead of a broke missionary? Like, that's the first time that concept went through my head of, what if I could make a ton of money and still go do what God calls me to do? Because if we'd have been standing there with a bunch of money, we'd have picked him up, took him to the hospital.
Yeah.
And then we'd have rebuilt those trash igloos, at least with mud huts. We could have dug a well before we left and gave them clean water forever.
Right.
Like, I think of all the things that we could have done.
Right.
And this is still within our first 30 days of just being out in the missions field. And I've got all these questions and all these, what if we built systems? What if we had a bunch of money? And that kind of fueled me all the way up until now, honestly. It's been 15 years. But that's the stories, and that's what leans me back to why it's important, I think, for us to figure out how to make money while still being available to go do what God's called us to do.
Right.
And then systematizing ministry to where what God gives us could actually multiply.
Right.
Like, those are the two big keys, I think, that if we could bring those from the business space into the mission space, we could help a lot more people.
Very true.
Right. So tell us, fast forward through what we did kind of from there, just to give where we went. Do you remember? From Kenya?
Oh, from Kenya?
Yeah, just from Kenya. Where'd we go?
We were in Thailand for 2 weeks.
Yep, we bounced over to Thailand for 2 weeks.
Yeah, because we met up with the pastor that we were going to be in the future at that time, going back to help with his church. So Thailand for 2 weeks, and then we went to Europe, jumped on a Mediterranean cruise.
We did a little bit of
backpacked Italy for 12 days.
Honeymooning, a little bit of honeymooning.
Yeah, because we just got married and we hadn't been married very long. And so
So we backpacked Italy for 14 days.
To go on a cruise. So
yep. We backpacked Italy for 14 days because we had 14 days to blow before the cruise.
Right.
So then we jumped on a cruise. So we were gone about 2.5 months before we came back to the States.
Yeah.
So there was missions at the orphanage for 30 days, 2 weeks in Thailand, meeting the pastor that we knew. Like you said, we'd go back in the future and help. And then we backpacked Italy and jumped on a cruise, came back to the States.
Right.
We came back to the States. That's when we moved into the camper and started doing disaster relief work, right?
Yeah.
Moving around. We traveled around and helped with some of the disaster relief trips, rebuilt from tornadoes, rebuilt from floods and hurricanes. We knew God had told us to go to Thailand, but we didn't know when.
Right.
We
knew that it was in the near future. It wasn't, very far down the road, but we hadn't gotten it. Okay, now.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't know the when.
We knew it was soon, but didn't know, but it wasn't now.
We knew we were supposed to go help this specific pastor with his thing in Thailand, with his church in Thailand, but we didn't know when we were supposed to go. So between then, we jumped in a truck and had the trailer and we drove around doing disaster relief work. We spent about 9 months.
I think so.
Living in the camper and doing disaster relief. During that whole time, there's so many God stories that we'll lay out on future episodes.
Right.
Because we've got to break them down to go in that, clean, quick stories. This is more of a, here's our story from marriage to where we're at. Marriage to Watch Missions Live right now. But man, there were so many God provisions along the way. We woke up one morning, there was money under the windshield wipers of the truck to pay for gas. We were in a state that nobody knew us.
Yeah.
We had people randomly, we broke down along the road and somebody let us park next to their house and directed us to the only, we'll say air quotes, the only church open that evening. And it turned out there was somebody there that we were supposed to talk to and we poured into for a couple hours. And the next day the guy's like, I don't know why I told you it was the only place. There was a bunch of people doing things that night.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of God things that happened along the way that just kind of continued to show God was behind what we were doing and preparing us. And then 9 months later, we moved to Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
This is, like I said, fast story, but I want to get the key elements of the fact that we've been around in a lot of different things, and then glimpses of God stories for future episodes.
Right.
And also pointing out kind of when the problems came or when the things that we noticed could be fixed.
I mean, a lot of the things that we have experienced with our missions has shaped what Watch Missions Live is now.
Exactly. And that's what I want to get to, right? Is part of Watch Missions Live, the podcast, is what's your ministry or mission that you went on or that you're doing? How'd you get into it? And then tell us a God story that we wouldn't hear of unless we otherwise run into you. Right. And so part of it is we want to show you we've done all these different missions and ministries and all these different things as well, so that you understand we have some experience in these things.
Right.
But then also, like you said, it shaped Watch Missions Live. Mm-hmm. That's the reason that we see the problems that we see and that we want to attack. Right. So up front was, what if I was standing here as a rich missionary instead of a broke one? And then what if we created systems to where they could farm and eat half of it and sell half of it, to where they had money and food, to where it was self-sustaining, right? This idea of self-sustaining and then multiplying. So then we travel around. We end up moving to Thailand. We're there for 9 months, right? Helping the pastor and doing Muay Thai. I grew up racing motorcycles, and so I've always had the itch to do things that were fast and stupid. And we get to Thailand, and I end up getting connected with Muay Thai gym there. So naturally, I go all in. Yeah. I got to fight for 6 months while we were there, and actually had a Muay Thai fight on New Year's Eve when I was 30 years old.
Yeah.
And when we were there, that actually was another experience item, I think, because distinctly remembering something there, God told us to sell everything, move halfway around the world to help this pastor with his thing. We were there like 4 months and we ended up parting ways, right? To where we weren't able to build what we thought we were there to build. And so we ended up not staying aligned and staying there to build what we thought we were there for, right? And so now we're living with a Buddhist lady who doesn't speak English. And she had built us a bamboo hut to live in and took care of us while we were there, right? Remember when we parted ways with who we were there to help, it's like all of a sudden she could understand our English and we could understand her Thai.
Right.
And it was like we just knew what each other was saying all the time.
Right.
And she was crazy helpful. God just opened the translation doors, if you will, because there was no translator. But then I thought, okay, well, maybe we're here for Muay Thai because I have extreme sports background and like that's always been my ministry and my jam. And so maybe we're here for them. And I remember just working and not being able to talk to anybody there and just thinking, why am I here? Why am I in Thailand? I can't talk to anybody. Like I'm a talker. I need to talk to people. And I told them I would quit my job and I would tell people about you. And now we're in a country and I can't tell anybody anything. Like, what are we doing here? And then you remember we had the opportunity to go and meet our sponsor kid from Compassion, right? So we flew, correct me if I'm wrong, we flew all the way to North Thailand, and then Compassion actually provided us with a translator, right? Yeah. They weren't going to let us stay overnight. So we had to drive out a couple hours out in the middle of nowhere to where they were at to hang out with them for half a day, and then we had to leave again.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So when we were there, we're talking with him and his grandma that was raising him, right? And his grandma was asking questions back and forth with the translator, and I felt like I should just share a story of why we were, or what we were doing, how we sold everything, and we were out doing what God asked us to do and everything. Translator's going back and forth, and then he just stops translating with me, and he just starts talking to her.
It was a woman.
Yeah, so she. See, that's why I have her around. She makes me better.
Gotta get the details right.
Yeah, I'm not gonna have all the details. So the translator talking to grandma, they start talking to each other and not translating it back to English for us. And then she looks at me and she's like, she would like you to lead her to Christ. And I was like, whoa, okay. We only have one day, a couple hours with the child that we've sponsored for 6 years, 8 years overall, something like that.
At that time, it wasn't very long, but
yeah, overall we ended up sponsoring like 6-8 years, but that we were only a year or two into it or something with him. We weren't very far into it. And so we end up being able to lead her to Christ, the grandma who's raising the kid that we sponsor. And then we have to leave again. And I remember when we went back to our bamboo hut back in South Thailand where we're living, just asking God, I've been asking why we're here, right? We thought we were here to build a church.
Yeah.
That didn't work out. We thought we were here to do missions with the Muay Thai boys. I'm like, that's not getting anywhere that I can tell.
And the woman we were living with who
we thought we were here for the lady we're living with.
To my knowledge, still Buddhist. Thought it was.
She was Buddhist. We thought,
even though there are so many stories with her and seeds were planted with her. So none of that was in vain.
Yeah.
But
we thought, but this is just us, right?
We thought it was this, nope, that, nope, this, nope.
Well, and this is important because when you go into missions, the field's always going to be changing.
Yeah.
God has a big plan that we can't see, right? And he showed me that my question for him was, did you really bring me halfway around the world for one person? And it felt very clear in my spirit, very quick in my spirit. He goes, yep, she's worth it to me. And I remember... No, grandma.
Grandma.
Yeah, grandma.
Sorry.
It's grandma that we led to Christ. He goes, she's worth it to me.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, wow, there's local people that could have done this. Why did I have to sell everything and move halfway around the world? But it was God showing me the links that he'll go through or go to, right? For his children, for the people that he loves, and that we're the hands and feet, and that none of the other stuff we're doing really matters.
Right.
And that was super cool because if you're doing missions or you've done missions, if you haven't felt it yet, you probably will at some point. You're going to wonder, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Why are we here? And we didn't have anybody to talk to.
Yeah.
Like, this is another problem that we want to solve for Watch Missions Live.
Enemies will sow seeds of doubt.
Absolutely. Because that's exactly what we thought. It's like, did we really hear that we were supposed to be here? And we could look back and we could see how God provided different things.
I didn't struggle with that as much as you did. Like, I loved being there the whole time.
Yeah. You were on vacation.
No, I wasn't.
Just kidding. I like Thailand too, but yeah, for me, it was very much just purpose driven. If I didn't know what the purpose was, I started to lose purpose, which I think a lot of guys are that way.
I guess I didn't have to know exactly what the plan was or exactly what the purpose is. I knew that God had us there, and I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
What do you want?
Yep. That's
Where?
That's why we work well
Who?
together. But this was the system side of me, right? And a lot of people I think are this way, but if not, that's fine. I'm this way. I'll own it. Like, I like to know what God's doing and try to figure it out so that I can move in the direction that he wants me to go. And now I refer to it as put together, yet fully flexible, right? I'm put together. If God says go to Thailand, we're gonna go to Thailand. We're gonna do what he asks us to do.
I'm ready.
And I'm gonna figure it out. We're going back now.
I'm ready.
And we're gonna figure out. And if he says build a church, I'm gonna figure out the best way to build a church. And we're gonna figure out how to do that. And we're gonna go hard to do it. But then at the same time, fully flexible means that God could at any time go, that's not why you're here. I need you to stop doing that.
Right.
And you go, oh, okay. Well, then it must be Muay Thai. I'm fully put together then. I went 7 days a week, 2.5 hours a day, just like they did. Every fight they went to, I went to. Every practice we had, I practiced. I practiced like they practiced, and it was rough. I was like, but I'm all in. I'm put together. I'm structured. I'm like, if we're here to reach them, then I'm going to go all in. And then God's like, no, I've got you here for this one lady. Like you said, there's seeds sown all along the way, right? We're still doing what God calls, but
those seeds need to be sown.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
a must.
But it's important too that we learned how to go all in
Mm-hmm.
and to be put together, right? We had plans for the church and we laid it out on the land and we measured it out and everything else like we were going to build. And we were moving towards that until God said no. And then it was like, okay, Muay Thai, well, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to show up. This is how we're going to show Christ to them until we're not supposed to, or until it multiplies and continues growing, right? It's put together yet fully flexible. It's like, Lord, what do you want from me?
Right.
I'm going to go all in. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to learn stuff.
Right.
I'm going to move forward to do the best I can with what you've given me.
Right.
And I believe that we're called to multiply.
Right.
And so how do we multiply it without learning and growing in it?
Right. Okay. So I'm going to reel you kind of back in.
Yeah.
So let's talk about really a big thing that inspired Watch Missions Live as the stage.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
So this connects to Thailand. So
it does.
But we have to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. So
because that's what what
right.
supposed to be talking about.
Big point. Watch Missions Live. Well, too, we did talk about what we were the problems that we were addressing, right?
Yeah.
So one was that, money and missions, right? If we have more, we can help more people.
Right.
Two, what if we created systems that would allow things to be self-sustaining and multiply without the missionary? If it was God's ministry.
Right.
And I want you guys to keep this in mind because these are the things that we're going to target over and over with Watch Missions Live and with our events and trainings, try to solve and help. And so the next one, well, I would also say though, before we do that, while we were in Thailand, when we got cut off from what we thought we were going to do and had nobody to speak to in English, we kind of felt alone, where it was just me and you. We didn't have problems with loneliness at that time, right?
No.
But we did feel like it was just me and you. We didn't have anybody to talk to. So I think it's important too.
Yeah, and we don't have anybody to talk to really, and there's a lack of guidance for us in what we were going through. Yeah.
True. And so that's part of, another thing that we saw along the way was this idea of communities and creating virtual communities to where no matter where you're at in the world, you'd be able to jump on Zoom and talk to other missionaries around the world. And you don't have to prepare something. You can just show up, be yourself, talk about what you're really struggling with, and we can help each other actually work through problems, struggles, so you're not alone, no matter where you're at. Okay, so Watch Missions Live in Thailand as a stage.
Yes.
We live in a bamboo hut. It is not insulated. It is not soundproof.
No. It's about the size of
one bedroom in America of an average sized house.
Average sized house. Because we're in
about
Texas.
A 12 by 12.
You have to define.
That's true. Not a Texas bedroom.
No.
And a normal bedroom. It was about 12 feet by 12 feet was the living space inside. And then we had a 12-foot by 12-foot front porch. And it's basically just a metal roof that went all the way out.
Outdoor kitchen.
There's a small kitchen, small bathroom.
Outdoor bathroom.
On the back. They were closed,
it was closed in.
You couldn't see us.
The bathroom was
they were
private.
Outside.
It was just
all the livestock
connected on the outside.
Yeah. All the wildlife could come and go as they please, for sure.
Right. Lizards.
Yep.
Snakes. Spiders.
Bug nets around the bed were definitely a necessity.
A must.
So while we're out in this bamboo hut trying to sleep multiple times, there was really bad karaoke.
Very
just
bad.
blaring through the entire, I'll call it countryside.
Like, you could hear it for miles away.
Yeah. It was very loud music, and
because we lived on a 10-acre bamboo farm, so it's not like we weren't
super close.
A house next door. It wasn't a neighborhood.
Right. It wasn't super close, no. So it was definitely loud enough that a big part of the community was hearing it when they had these.
Yes.
And so we kind of did some research. What is this? Why are people playing this music and screaming over a microphone through an overly loud speaker till 4 o'clock in the morning?
Yes.
Why are they doing this? And we found out it was called the Monorah.
And a lot of times it was through the week.
Yeah, exactly. There'd be random days. This isn't a weekend thing.
No.
So we find out it's called a Monorah, right? I'm like, what's a Monorah? Well, basically, when somebody would pray to one of their gods and that god would answer their prayers, they would host a Monorah with the sole intention of, I'm going to create a stage, a platform where I can step up and I can say, I prayed for this, my God gave it to me.
Right.
That's the whole point of it. And so they would spend money to build a stage that would fill up like the whole front yard of their house. They would hire Thai traditional dancers to come in from out of town to put on a show.
Yes.
It was all the food and all the alcohol you could eat and drink all night long. And anybody who walked by was welcome.
Right.
So there was no guest list.
Right.
There wasn't like a friends and family.
And they just went on until they ran out.
Yep. Until it was all gone, period.
Yeah.
But I was taken back at how much money they spend, right? Because there's not a guest list. Anybody walks by, they can come in and drink as much as they want,
and
eat as much as they want. We were
invited to several of them.
We were invited to a bunch of them. And the whole purpose was get anybody and everybody in town to see it, hear it, come by, so that they could step up on the stage and say, I prayed for this, and my God answered my prayers, and I got the thing.
Right.
And I remember just thinking, in America, we're so blessed, and when God answers our prayers, we just go #blessed on social media, and then we're back to doing whatever we do. That's it. We just don't value it like that, right?
Yeah.
And I just thought, how cool is that, right? They've got false gods, and they're willing to spend all this money to be able to tell everybody they can that their false god answered their prayer. I just thought that's so cool. Well, jumping back, while we were traveling around, people always would hear our stories of, God providing, God telling us to do this, and then making this work, and this person being healed, and all this stuff happening. And people will always tell me to write a book. And I'm like, I don't want to write a book. My mom will probably be the only one that reads it. Actually, your mom will probably be the only one that reads it. My mom would read it. My mom would skim it a little bit. And
my sister probably would read it.
Yeah, we'd have a couple. Yeah. But it wouldn't be much. I've never been big on the idea of
3 people would read it.
3 people. I have a good solid 3. I have a solid 3 people. But I've never been big on let's just write a book and tell my story or our story. I want to tell God's stories. And when I learned of the Monorah, this basically build a stage and get on stage and just not care what it sounds like or who it keeps up. And you just shout from the rooftops, this is what my God did. I thought that's so cool. And God's given me a talent to build websites and automation and systems and streamline things. And I thought, what if I leverage technology to create an online stage?
Right.
A virtual Monorah. And instead of me standing on the stage telling my story, what if we allow everybody with a God story to come onto this stage and tell God stories?
Right.
How cool would that be?
Very cool.
Because a lot of missionaries just go do the work. God told me to do this.
Right.
And they go do it.
Right.
And
write a monthly newsletter.
Yeah, they're obedient. They write the monthly newsletter. It kind of updates people. And that's kind of it.
Right.
And they just do the work. And we're happy to do the work.
Right.
We love doing the work, right? It's like doing what God's called us to do is how we get fired up. But then who hears about it? Just our newsletter, right? Just our monthly newsletter. Facebook. Some of our friends on Facebook. Yeah. And if we post, right? But a lot of missionaries don't like technology or don't like to waste their time on it.
Right.
And if you're not consistent with it, no algorithm's going to pick it up and get it out.
Yeah.
So what if we built the stage? What if we build all the social platforms? What if we create the consistency that makes an algorithm take notice? What if we pay for advertising to get it in front of more people? What if we clean up and handle all the tech? And all we do is say, hey, come on the podcast, tell your story. Talk about what God's doing how you got into it. Tell us a God story, and then you go back to doing what God's called you to do. We'll handle all the tech. We'll handle all the distribution. We'll handle all the fixes and the bugs and the breaking and the editing and the posting and all the stuff. And that way we could have a massive library of God stories.
Right.
Instead of a book of Aaron stories.
Right.
And that's the big fuel behind the podcast was how do we tell God stories? All of them. Not just mine. Because that kind of leads into another problem or issue that we saw, right? When we first felt like God called us to go into missions, we tried to talk to a few sending organizations and a few pastors. And if we weren't their denomination, they didn't want to talk to us.
Right.
And if we weren't trying to go to one of their projects that they already had, they didn't want to talk to us. Right. They couldn't help us, which I'm not bad-mouthing. I think is fantastic. As a coach teaching businesses how to streamline, the best thing you can do is know what you're doing and stick with that one thing. One message to one person, get really good at it, and just do it forever. You'll crush it. And that's one of the hardest things for us to do. We like to jump around to everything. Yeah. So I appreciate when a sending organization goes, well, God's called us to do this and to do this. Right. And you're saying you need to go do this.
We have projects here and here and here. So where do you want to go with
we can help you go to one of our projects, but we can't just go out of our way to take resources to help you go do what God's called you to do.
Completely understandable.
And that's great because that's the reason that they're able to make impact.
Yes.
So what happens, though, to everybody else who goes, well, God told me to go to Thailand to help this pastor with his thing.
It was very specific with us.
Ours is very specific.
And then I also want to add that when we felt the calling to go to Thailand, I was a very new believer, and you had just came out of kind of a backsliding rebelling time. Yep. And so the church that we were going to, which we did get married and baptized in together, and we still weren't very connected. We still didn't really know a lot of people. Right. So even though we had that church, we still didn't have the backing of that church to send us. Right.
We still didn't have them come behind with a bunch of resources and be like, hey, we're going to send you. Right. Because too, they were running a church and their ministries and everything else. And we just felt like God told us to go do this thing in Thailand. Right. Like, okay. And so I just remember like that's part of why we want to create training and resources and bring missionaries together and why we're not denominational and we're not a sending organization. We're just going to help by providing resources. Right. And we're going to help connect the body of Christ and have community through the body of Christ to where no missionary is out in the world feeling like they're by themselves with nowhere to go. Right. And no missionary is going to go, I feel like God's called me to do this, but I have no idea how to do it. Our goal is to find people that have already done it and then connect you and create trainings or create events where you're able to come together and be able to actually learn from each other. Right. So if somebody's been called to plant churches or schools in India and they planted one and turned it into 12 and you've been called to plant a school, you guys should meet. Right. Because you can plant a school, but you're going to go through all the trial and error and everything else. Right. What if I could tell a God story of these guys over here that have done 12 schools and then create an event and bring all of you together and be like, hey, if God's called you to this, go talk to that guy. God's called you to this, go talk to that guy. Right. God's called you to this. They've been doing that for 20 years. They've been doing that for 10 years. They're like breakout sessions. Go talk to these people. Right. And we can create a space where people who have done it can pass that information down and we can multiply the body faster. Right. And I think something that's unique for us is I'm not interested in controlling everybody. Right. Not saying all organizations do that or churches, but there is some of that. Right. We're people. We're all people trying to do the best we can. So there's denominations, organizations that say our way is the way. Right. And you either do it our way or you leave. Right. And our way is if it's something that stands in line with the word of God. Right. And God's called you to do it, then we would like to just help you do it. Right. We are going to check it to the word of God. We're not just going to help you do whatever you think. Right. We are still standing on the word of God and it must be biblical and doctrinal sound and everything else. But our goal is to just work together with the body of Christ, not convert you to our denomination or get you to our place. Everything we do is virtual. So we don't have a place. But we want to create the resources that allow people to come
not
together.
Everything's virtual. We do plan to do events. We
Yep,
haven't touched
that's
on
true.
those. You kind of started to kind of lean that way.
Yep.
But with the
Yep.
learning from each other and breakout tables and stuff.
Yep. We are currently we're located just north of Dallas, and we are looking at locations right now to where we can host live events, so we can bring missionaries in from all over the place and bring them together and create these spaces
with donors.
Yeah, exactly. Donors and missionaries alike. Basically, if you have a heart for missions, we want to get you in a room together, because problem number 4 or whatever, 5, wherever we are in that list that we want to help with
number it
is donors and missionaries, right? Givers and goers, we call them. If you're a giver, a lot of times you're going, that resonates with me. I want to build an orphanage, but I couldn't go build an orphanage.
Right.
Like, God's blessed me here.
Right.
I've got money, and I would rather send you to go build the orphanage.
Right.
But
because you need both.
Yeah, you need both. You need givers and goers. Yeah. And we're goers at heart, right? We would still, if you look at the United States, we're in our 40s, and a family in your 40s, we do not want to typically sell everything and go start somewhere else. We still would.
I already told you.
She's
let's
itching
go
to go now.
Let's go back.
Well, a lot, you got to have that in you where God's called you, and you're just one of those people that's just willing to go. But both are needed, right? Because if you're a goer, a lot of times it's hard to figure out, how do we support this thing? How do we keep it going? And if God said, go plant a church, who pays for the church? Well, God's also laid it on other people to be like, hey, send them some money so they can plant a church. But it's in the heart of the giver and the heart of the goer to plant these schools and to help kids, or to plant an orphanage and to rescue kids, or to feed the homeless or hungry and to buy food and distribute it. Yeah. Yet they both have a role to play. Yeah. And I think there's a breakdown in the roles, or a breakdown in the relationship.
Right.
Missionaries love doing the work. We hate the posting to social media, writing letters, and updating people.
Having to take time to update. Do all that.
I'd rather just do the thing and help the people.
Right.
But givers are like, hey, I'm giving to you because I want to be a part of it.
Right.
But I can't go because I'm working and I have the stuff so that I can keep giving. And so they want to hear more.
Right. There has to be that emotional connection.
Yeah.
To keep it ongoing.
Well, they want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
You're not really partners doing the thing if you only message them when you need money.
Right.
Right. Or if you only message them when you're sending money.
Right.
Right. The same thing. But what if both of you were like, this is amazing. This is what we're doing this week. Hey, this is what we had going on this week. This is a setback we had. And there was just better communication. So our live events, we want to help bring people together. Yeah. And talk about how they can work together more. And we're going to bring in like business leaders to help teach business systems, to where you have practical systems that you can plug into the mission space to multiply what God had. Right. God has given you, God called you to. Right. I think it's so important that if God gave you a ministry, that we're called to multiply it. Right. Not just to maintain it.
To do it well.
Yeah. And I've maintained. That's it. I've planted and I've done the things that I've done. And when I leave, it all just goes back to the way it was. And so I'm not bashing anybody. I'm looking at my history, my career, and the things that I've learned along the way. And I'm like, man, I feel God's told me to do this thing. Why did it stop when I quit? Or why did it stop when we moved on? Right. Right. Because we haven't quit, but it's shifted. Yeah. We've went from this to this to this, or this place to this place, and things have been different. And so what if each one of the things that we went and did continued on after we were there? Right. What if they kept going? Right. And that, like, how would that even have happened? I think it would have been an intentionality on my part to go, how can I train these people to keep doing it when I go? And if I never think that way, it's never going to happen. If I just think I'm just doing the thing, which a lot of times we did, a lot of people do, then how will it ever go on when I stop doing the thing? Right. You know, and entrepreneurs fall into the same thing. People start a business and they end up being the only person that can run it. And when they retire, it just basically goes out of business. They shut it down, or it gets sold off to somebody else. Right. But very few businesses actually grow and multiply, right? And scale out to where the owner gets back out. So if we took that same concept and we said, God told me to, whatever it is, we want to help teach you how to multiply that, how to work together with your givers, right? Your givers and goers to work together, to partner, to actually be an active role in planting that and then multiplying it past you. And I think, that's the big heart behind Watch Missions Live, is telling God stories and multiplying missions and ministries around the world.
Right.
So,
and connection.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then supporting you as you do it, right? The ongoing community. So to break it down, we've got media up front is our podcast, this, posting, and actually talking about what's going on, telling God stories, and then our live events. And we'll have online resources. Eventually, we're developing all those out to where there'll actually be training and systems that you can just access from anywhere in the world.
Right.
If you can't come to a live event, we'll have it digital.
Right.
So we can help give you some training, because there's a lot of really good training, teach you how to tell people about Jesus, debate the word of God, lead people to Christ. But then how do you build a team, raise money, and run an actual school?
Right.
Or an orphanage.
Right.
Or whatever God's told you to do. Right. That's more like a business. And so we're missing some of that training, right? Or it's out there and it's just not aggregated well, or it's hard to find. So our goal is just make it easier to find. And then ongoing communities where we have the live Zooms, every week, to where missionaries can come together and actually have a place to pour into each other.
Right.
And let their guard down and be vulnerable and get help with things and get connected. So that's our big heart and our three-pronged focus, if you will, for multiplying missions and ministries around the world. And that's really what we want to do. So we would love to hear your stories. If you have God stories that you want to tell, go to watchmissionslive.com. You can click tell your story. It's got a little application deal there, but you'll fill that out. That triggers our team so that we can check you out, get to know you, see what you're up to, and then we schedule a podcast with you. And then you'll meet with me from wherever you're at. We'll make it easy. We'll send you a link. You jump on your computer, and wherever you're at, we'll make it easy. We can tell the God story and on the podcast and everything. Anything else you feel like we've missed? Just kind of laying out our story, the issues that we're going to kind of address, if we will, as we keep going to Watch Missions Live, and then, and then what's coming up. Anything to add?
I don't think so.
No? We covered it all?
Like you said earlier, you like to talk. So
I
covered
do.
it all.
I talked a lot, but you prompted the questions, so. Well, I'll get her back and let her talk more.
Sometimes I wonder, where's he going with this?
Yeah.
So I just look at you like,
everybody does.
Where are you going?
It's okay. Everybody does. We get
you
it.
bring her, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. That's all right. Everybody does. It keeps you wondering so that you come back for more. So we'll just leave that trailing. So maybe you'll come back for more on the next one. But thank you for giving us your time today. Thanks for sitting with me and giving it a round two, testing out the technology and getting it working. Technology is awesome until it isn't sometimes, but we're going to leverage it and we're going to try to spread the word farther and faster. So thank you guys for listening in, for watching on YouTube, whatever. If you're on the podcast, give us a download or a follow or a subscribe. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. That helps us out. That's great. Put it in the comments, missions you've been on, what you've had going on, and we'll catch you guys on the next.
Hey, I do have something.
Oh, yeah.
Talking about the comments, if you are a missionary out there and you have suggestions, you have concerns that you would like to be addressed in the online communities, or that you'd like to be addressed or in the events or anything, because what you have to say is valuable, what you have experienced is valuable, and it only helps us to get better.
Exactly.
Better to serve you.
That's good. Yep. Good stuff. Appreciate you cutting me off and throwing that in there.
You're welcome. Right when you're going to end it.
She's right at the last minute. Here we go. But no, that is good, because that is what we're trying to do. Yeah. We're not trying to just create something and throw it out there boxed. In this episode, we've given you the issues that we ran into. Yeah. But there's a ton of things going on. So we want to hear exactly what you're dealing with. If there's a struggle that you're dealing with, if you go to Watch Missions Live, our email address is on there. If you don't want to put it in the comments, we still want to hear about it. But
if you have a prayer, put it in the comments and we will pray for you.
Absolutely. So we definitely want to connect. We want to grow this thing out, build it out for you guys, and to just really unify and multiply the body of Christ around the world. So thank you again for listening. We'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Yeah. Moses had a staff. David had a stone. The disciples changed the world.